All right, so welcome back. Not long ago, I read a bunch of books about witches, and one of those books was one of my most anticipated. Why was it my most anticipated? Beautiful cover. I DNF'd it. Could not do it. Link to that video. But then I'm like, okay, what other books am I insanely excited to read and think I will love that I'm terrified now might be a letdown? Yes, I will do a video later on books I bought just because cover is beautiful. I knew nothing about it, but these I at least knew something about the book or had some kind of expectation going in of why I will love it. And not gonna lie, for some of these I was very wrong. So we started with, this one technically was more of the author themselves I was interested in, Jennifer Hillier. Assuming I'm pronouncing that right, we've established I'm terrible with names. She has a bunch of books that just sound awesome to me, but the one that I knew the most about and was most excited to read was The Butcher. And this, from what I knew going in, was about a couple, and they have bought the boyfriend's father's house, and the boyfriend's father was a police detective or sheriff or something like that, was famous for hunting down this serial killer and catching him, but then they find some evidence in the house that lead them to believe that the father was actually the serial killer or had something to do with a cover-up or something like that. And the girlfriend thinks her mother was killed by this serial killer, but it happened after the actual serial killer had been killed by boyfriend's father. And that just seemed like an interesting premise. I wanted to see the dynamic, how they would be investigating the father, or maybe it was grandfather. Yeah, sorry, grandfather. He buys his grandfather's house. I probably did think it was the father when I went into this, but it wasn't. I was so excited for that premise and how everything would play out. Did not go at all how I was expected. Yeah, and I hated this book. I hated it so much. It is just hateful towards women, first of all, but we'll get to that. That's not why I despise it. It's part of it. It's an annoying tone. But let's start with what I was wrong about the premise. She does not know. She does not know that, and I'm not going to go into any spoilers past like the setup phase. She does not know that he found any evidence in the house thinking that his grandfather was the serial killer. And that, okay, fine, you're hiding it from her. He is also the most man baby, is the only way to describe this man. Insecure, constantly saying how he can't control his temper and it's not his fault. He has anger issues because mommy abandoned him, died on him, I don't know or remember. Did not know his actual father, was raised by his grandparents. So his grandfather is like his father. And he idolizes him. He just wants to be a food truck or chef, famous chef. He's got this whole television show going on. And he is so narcissistic, self-absorbed, and selfish. So he's been with his girlfriend for like 4 years. But says, you know what, I'm not ready for a commitment. And I will give the author this, or I'll give this character this. He's at least honest about it. So I liked that. Very honest up front about what he wants out of this relationship. Nope, I'm more interested in my career and myself. You are a secondary priority. I don't want you in my life. I want the house to be mine. I need to be on my own for a while, and you're just kind of annoying me. And he's kind of upfront about that, and she's just cool with it for some reason. Not really cool with it. She complains a bit. But then finds clear evidence, and this is all in the setup, clear evidence grandfather was the serial killer. Grandfather full out admits it to him. There is no investigation whatsoever. There's no, oh, maybe he did do it, maybe he didn't do it, let's look into this, because that's what I thought the book would be about. Absolutely not. Grandpa's just like, yeah, I did it. What are you going to do about it? If you turn me in, well, A, I'm old, I'm going to a retirement home, I'm going to be dead in a couple of years anyway, and B, it'll just draw negative publicity to you, your career, your restaurant you got going on, the TV show deal you got. So you're not turning me in. Deal with it. Then some other stuff happens. As much as I hate this character as a person, the boyfriend, he's at least the most well-interesting because of everything he goes through after learning his grandfather was a serial killer, what happened with his mother and his actual father, his best friend, some drama there, and his mentality just spirals. And I really, really like that. I hate him, but I love a narcissistic character who's just looking out for themselves. So I love that element. Then you have girlfriend. She is completely in love with her best friend. So that is a love triangle that we know which way it's going to go. It's not even subtle, not even a little bit. So she is investigating, thinking her mother was killed by the serial killer. Has no idea Grandpa was at all involved. She's telling him all her theories. He's coaching her and helping her because he was a former police detective, sheriff, big deal in the town. It's like, yeah, I'll listen to your ideas. And at first, it's kind of interesting. I'm liking this because we have the character I hate, but I love his mentality. And then I have a sort of relatable character that I can kind of appreciate in this story. Then she becomes despisable through how she reacts to every single female character. Is the most pick-me, I'm the only good one kind of female character I've ever read, because she gets jealous of every single woman in her boyfriend's life. Unreasonably so. Granted, he's also wanting to cheat on her, but still, how she treats her best friend's girlfriend. Oh, you're hot? I don't like you because I'm actually in love with my best friend and want to be with him and my boyfriend at the same time. And it's okay for me, but it's not okay that you're blonde, a yoga instructor, and pretty. Oh, you also have a master's degree and run a bunch of businesses? Well, that doesn't matter because you're pretty. And then she calls up like a friend's wife, and the friend's wife just goes on about how her teenage son is dating a slut. And I'm just like, why is this book so hateful towards women? So it soured my taste for this character, the girlfriend, how she treats everyone around her. She's not the center stage, the one everyone idolizes. She hates anyone else in like the revolving sphere of character interactions, and it's annoying as hell. She's also a little bit of an idiot, but I can't really blame her for thinking that the character she respects could have done anything wrong. Then you have the grandfather, and we go into his points of view, and it is a lot of fun. He's probably one of my favorite serial killers in fiction. Like, it was really well executed with his character. So, and what he has plans, what he's setting up, it makes perfect sense. I can't go into details without going into spoilers, but yeah, no, that his character, for what he is meant to be, was executed flawlessly. So on the one hand, I loved so many elements of this book, but if the underlying tone just wasn't so hateful, and all the characters weren't just despisable. I like despicable characters. I like their mind. I like everything about it. But I need one. I just need one semi-good character. Someone I don't want to see die painfully. And yeah, I would be fine if all these characters were just like in this book. Yeah, so plot was fast-paced. Most of the girlfriend was the worst, but the other two characters you were meant to hate, and their minds were crafted very well. If it wasn't for the unnecessary love triangle, and if I had one character that was like realistically not perfect, but at least understandable, that it would have been perfect for me. I will read from this author again. The writing was good. The plot was well constructed. It was just that underlying tone that was rubbing me the wrong way. Next, I picked up Changeling. Do you see the size of this book? Why the hell did I finish this? Oh my god. I can normally understand why people give a book 5 stars. Even if I don't agree, and I give it a 1 star, I can understand what other people loved about it, and I don't understand this one. So what I expected going in was 2 characters, they have a kid, the mom thinks has been swapped with a changeling, so does something horrible and then goes on the run, and father has to go find wife and learns the truth that child probably was actually abducted by a changeling. And yeah, okay, I didn't know much going in. I probably shouldn't have had such high expectations, but everyone loved this book. And I've heard such good things about the author, Victor Lavelle. Like, I'm going to have to read a couple more of their books because I have heard such good things, and this one was just not for me. This felt like 3 different books, all crammed into one. None of them had, like, a actual ending. So we had the setup for 3 really interesting books. We slammed them all together, and then just, like, there's your story. So you have a really cool introduction. We're diving into the history of these characters and their family, how they meet, how they fall in love, their parents. They are so well executed, and then right up to the birth of the child. So that's like one story, a happy little story. Then you have, it starts its second story where you're getting some weird pictures, people getting close to your kid, and then I'm expecting diving into postpartum depression or something like that. Little hints that the mom is not doing well, maybe not taking care of herself. But then it's not. It's like, well, there's some little moments, but then it's just abrupt switch to the tragic act. Everything, she's fled. It's gone. She's done something and she takes off. And I'm like, okay, so let's see how the author handles the fallout. How does the husband react? What does he feel in this moment? Was he just as shocked at this abrupt change as I am as the reader? We don't know, because it flash forwards to like 6 months later after he's done something. We don't even see what he does. We don't know what his emotions. We know his emotions in that moment and state because it's told to us later, but we are not shown it. And then we cut to the third part. Actually, there's probably like 4 or 5 books in here, because part 3 of the book, or the third story in here, more or less, because it claims to be one narrative. I disagree. He's searching for his wife for revenge after what she's done, and then we get a random magical island. It goes into like magical realism, dark fairy tale. I've learned I don't like dark fairy tale, realistic dark fairy tales, modern day stuff. It's not, the vibes are not for me, especially when it's thrown in like this. You get support groups, and mythology does not make sense. You have so much explanation and exploration on like witches and other creatures and trolls and other things that just kind of slowly pop up, and you get more history on. Do you know what you don't get information on? Changelings. Like, I don't even know if this word was used in the book. I can't remember. Yeah, I don't understand. And then you cut to part 4 or 5 book that makes up this story, and it's just like cybersecurity and heist and blackmail or something. And then you have lore on what set this whole thing in motion, and a constant plague on, I guess, impoverished individuals and people vulnerable in society, and how you just like steal kids away. I'm like, okay, cool. Now let's wrap it up. How does this end? Oh, fairy tales shouldn't have happy endings, or even an ending at all, because once the prince saves the princess, can they really just go on living happy ever after? Definitely not. So if that's an unrealistic ending in a fairy tale, I'm just going to end it the same way, and you're going to assume that they may have a terrible life because of everything that happened, or they may have a happily ever after, but I'm not going to write it. I don't understand anything about this book. This was not for me. This was not for me at all. All right, another book I picked up by Ania Ahlborn. I have read one book by this author. I think I gave it like 3-ish stars. I'm like, it was good, but it wasn't, the plot didn't hook me. The writing was good. The story was good. It was just a little bit slow for me, but this time I picked up Brother. What I knew about this: cannibals. That's pretty much all I had. That, and I wanted to read more from the author. And it was not what I was expecting, even though I didn't know what to expect. This was slow. This was a slow story. This is character focused. There's actually not very much of a plot. And it is about this brother in a family who they kidnap people, hunt them more or less for sports. Yes, they eat them, and it goes from there. It's just Texas Chainsaw Massacre told from the point of view of the little brother who doesn't know any better because this is how he was raised, indoctrinated into. There's family trauma. The dynamics between the characters are so well explored, but it's mostly about the 2 brothers, the younger one, Michael, and the elder one, Rebel. And Rebel he has a hatred towards Michael and wants things to happen that I won't go into due to spoilers and backstory and flashbacks. But again, slowly unraveled, slowly revealed, but he's taking Michael into town where he can see semblance of a normal life. He falls in love. It's a coming-of-age love story at one point. And again, I wasn't expecting this. This is very slow. You're not getting hunting, stalking, kidnapping, bring them back to the home until much later when a dinner scene happens, and I'm just, no, how is this going to end? And they do something, and I'm like, I knew they were going to do it, but I didn't think they were going to do it. It was worth it. The slow build-up and character focus of this book to get to that ending was so good. I loved it. The twist of the story I seen coming more or less a mile away. It was very predictable. I went online just to see what other people's reviews were, and a couple people hated the book, and one's saying, yeah, the twist was completely predictable, and another person was saying, I don't know what you're talking about. That twist was not predictable at all, and the reviewer leaves like just like 3 examples of like, this is how I seen the twist coming, and the person's just like, you're reading too much into it, and I'm like, sir, the twist was predictable. Get over it. But oh, why didn't I love this book? Because it's not an all-time favorite. I don't even think I gave it 5 stars. I think it was just because it was on the slower pace side, which really isn't a good reason. I only gave it 4 stars. I adore weird, messed up characters' minds and seeing how they are rationalizing things, how they're thinking things, their narcissism system, how they want to own people, and that's what you get in this book. With Rebel, like one of my favorite psychopaths in fiction, love his character, hate him, want to be very far away, despicable. Oh, so good. Oh, I probably didn't give it a full 5 stars because I wanted a little bit more on the mother and her family, because you get this cycle of trauma and perpetuating that abuse through generations, but it's not really leaned into as much as I would like. I also did think this would be extreme horror. Not in my definition. Like, it's a lot of fade to black. There's some bad things happening, but nothing gratuitous, really. Nothing explored in any detail. It is like, oh, I'm going to do this, jump over that scene, oh, fade to black, whatever. But, oh, it was good. It was a good book. Now, I didn't read every book in this one, but I definitely did read Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. That was going around on YouTube not long ago. And I definitely enjoyed it, but the focus was not where I needed it to be. So I did not know what this was about. Going in, I knew some bit of message board communication between 2 characters that eventually leads to tragedy, and that's set up in the like introduction. Like, read the author's note because that is part of the story. And all it is emails back and forth, starting with, I think it was a potato peeler, carrot peeler, some kind of peeler, antique peeler. And then they get into this relationship that goes into like master-slave kind of relationship through emails back and forth. They've never met in real life. And it's just like, I want you to do this. I'm going to have financial control over you. I'm going to be giving you an allowance. Go do this. Go do this. And pushing them past like comfort zones. And I feel so this is kind of set up as an author has taken these messages and formed it into a book. But if you had added like police reports, psychiatrist interviews, investigative reporting, some other journalism kind of element to it, to flesh out these characters a bit more. Like, we're given hints of a backstory being thrown out for being gay. And if you had went into, maybe the author had gone to a psychiatrist to ask about how this would affect someone's mental well-being, how they could become attached to another person because of this, or anything, just to draw a little bit more narrative connection between how we get from point A to point B in the stories, I would have liked that more. I just needed this to be fleshed out a little tiny bit more. And then the ending. My God, the ending. Why did it end there? Give me at least a police report, an autopsy report, something. What did they do? I need to know. So I did not, what did I even give this? Did I give this 3 or 4 stars? 2 or 3 stars? 2.5 I gave it. Just like I said, it felt like a shallow exploration where I wanted them to dive deeper on these characters, their motives, why they reacted in this way. But we're just getting conversations back and forth. We're not even giving them really thinking in their own thoughts of how they feel in this moment, but we kind of are, because the insane amount of tangents these people go on in their emails and messages back and forth, like, it's not human. It's like, no one talks like this. So I just needed some added information between messages to make this fit for the focus to be where I needed it. I like the idea, I like the concept. I'm going to read more from this author because there's something there, but this one wasn't for me specifically. And then we get to one of my more anticipated books. I read Ring. Oh my goodness, I love and hate this book in equal amounts. So yes, this is the book that the classic horror movie Ringu is based on. I have watched the American movie back in the day. I've watched the Japanese movie back in the day. I enjoy them both. They were never my favorite horror movie, but I love the concept, and I was so excited to read this book. And I have so many mixed reviews, so many mixed thoughts. Essentially, I hate things about this book more than I can really say in this video, because I will just start screaming at the camera. But I love the elements that the movie took, and they are executed so much better in the book. I really felt the mystery, the unraveling of it more in this book. Some classic scenes are not, they were movie only, and I love that for it. Some of my favorite scenes are movie only, but the book is so well executed. You have this investigative reporter whose niece had been killed, connect it to these other murders, trace it back to the cabin, finds the videotape. There is a hilarious scene that did not make it into the movie, and we were robbed, unless it's in the movie and I forget about it, because I don't think I am. I'm going to tell you because it's not really a spoiler. It is just, I found it to be hilarious. So when they're watching the tape, after all the weird imagery, something comes up saying pretty much you're about to be killed in a if you don't do this specific thing. And right as the tape is about to tell you what you have to do to prevent yourself being killed by the curse, it cuts to a commercial someone had recorded over the tape, and I think that is the most hilarious thing ever, and I love it. The characters in this book are so hateable and terrible. Like, the investigative reporter, I can get past the fact that he does not treat his wife well. He's sexist as hell. Like, this is a book written in the 90s in Japan about a time in the 80s. Do I actually think the female characters are going to be well developed with agency and treated like actual people? No, I didn't expect that going in. I wasn't surprised when he treated them this kind of way. But then you're introduced to this second, I guess, dual protagonist here. Duagonist? There you go. In his best friend, he admits it to being his best friend eventually. This is slightly spoilery, but I will save the heavy spoiler for far later on, and you do kind of need to know this if you're certain people wanting to read this book. So, introduced to his best friend, who is an admitted rapist. So, back in high school, he had told the investigative reporter buddy, yeah, no, I just raped someone last night. And then in present day, he tells him, oh yeah, I've done it 3 times since then. And no, it's like, or I done it again last night. And the investigative reporter's like, oh, that's the 3rd time, isn't it? And I'm just like, excuse you, what? So he is just perfectly fine with his best friend doing this, will not turn him in, doesn't really question it. The most question he gets is him thinking, why am I okay with this? Why am I talking to this guy if he's doing this bad stuff? Oh well, I'm going to continue to not do anything and just allow him to be in my social circle, yada yada. Let's bring him home to where my wife and child is asleep and he can help me investigate this videotape. You know what makes this worse? The best friend, yeah, the rapist, he is the most interesting character. He is smart, he is calm, he is collective. He is kind of weird, wants to live to see the end of the world. Yeah, no, he's the only good character well written in this book. And then I'm just like, are you kidding me? So it makes me hate both these characters. So I'm rooting for her. Her name is not Samira in this book. So I don't remember how you pronounce her name. It's a different name. But I'm rooting for her to kill him. I am. Like, I have no investment of these 2 people surviving the curse. The ending of the book is great. There is a line at the end that I guess is too close to spoilery. I'll leave it out, but it's in my Goodreads of a review for why the best friend might not be despicable, but it doesn't help. It does not help at all. So it's just so weird. So, like, I loved elements of this book. I loved the background we got of the girl from the well, her mother, her history. It makes more sense. It's weird. It's very weird, but so weird. There's a statue involved and magical powers you get from it, and then she became psychic, and then there's the hatred of humanity and what they did to her mother and her family. And then, oh, I didn't even mention all the sexual assaults. So the girl, I'm just gonna call her Samara. Samara? I can't even remember her in the original story. Doesn't matter. So yeah, so 1, 2, possibly 3 instances of sexual assault against her, and she's blamed for the last one. So there's that. And then just the hatred she feels towards society. So you would think that I'd be kind of done with this series. I said, no, because I got the next one. I'm going to read this next. I can't look away. I need to know what happens, because apparently there's like 5 or 6, I think there's 5 books in this series, where only the first movie I've watched, and I don't know if the rest were even adapted. I need to know what happens, because the ending of this book, it implies like everyone's just going to be killed, I think. I don't know what's going to happen. I need to know. So there's that. There's that. I'm very excited to continue on with the series, not gonna lie. So I had some really high hits, some low lows, some mixed reviews, but yeah, no, I don't know if this means I should trust YouTube book recommendations, because I got most of these from YouTube. But I'm going to continue buying books knowing little about them, or just because of the hype around them, and we'll see if I like them. That's all I got. I will talk to you later. Bye.